US President Joe Biden has now formally launched his re-election campaign for the 2024 presidential election. The 80-year-old Democrat made the announcement in an interesting manner through a 3-minute promotional video. He was asking Americans to give him 4 more years to finish what he started. Biden chose to launch his campaign on the 4th anniversary of his return to politics in 2019. Joe Biden asked Americans to give him 1 more chance to finish the job. In the video, Biden dubbed the 2024 election as a fight against Republican extremism, arguing he needed more time to fully realize his vow to restore the nation's character. While Biden faces a few candidates for the Democratic nomination, such as Marianne Williamson and Robert Kennedy Jr., his road to becoming the Democratic candidate for the 2024 presidential election seems quite clear by now. However, Joe Biden does face a tougher fight with former President Donald Trump during the election after Trump announced his candidacy just a few months ago. Biden defeated his predecessor Donald Trump in the 2021 presidential election to become the oldest president in US history. On that note, let's also have a quick look at Joe Biden's 2024 re-election campaign video that was released earlier on Tuesday.
Freedom, personal freedom, is fundamental to who we are as Americans.
There's nothing more important, nothing more sacred.
That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy,
This shouldn't be a red or blue issue.
to protect our rights, to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote. When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election, because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country.
Thank you for choosing us.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. And this is our moment. So if you're with me, go to joebiden.com and sign up. Let's finish this job. I know we can, because this is the United States of America. There's nothing, simply nothing we cannot do if we do it together.
All right, so with Joe Biden now formally announcing his re-election bid for 2024, what will this mean for the presidential race of 2024 in the United States? Also, not to forget, what will it mean for the Democratic campaign as well? Let me try and get in some perspective from my guests today. I'm joined in by Corinne Clark, who's a Republican strategist, joining me live from Washington, D.C. I'm also joined in by Nicole Brenner-Schmitz, who's a Democrat strategist and joining me from Washington, D.C. as well. Many thanks to you, Nicole and Corinne, for joining in. Corinne, if I may begin with you, President Biden has cast the next election as a fight for democracy and personal freedom, saying, let's finish the job. What do you make of the messaging of this video?
Yeah, well, when you think of the Biden record for these last couple of years and he promises to finish the job, that sounds more like a threat than the kind of hopeful promise you'd hope to base a presidential campaign on. We've seen terrible economic consequences of Biden's energy policies, of his regulations, of his executive orders, and he's promising he wants to do more of that. I think it doesn't sound positive, but you know what? I don't think that there is anyone less excited to hear Biden's announcement than his own party. So I think the energy is pretty low for the Democrats, and this video is pretty low energy. And I don't think it's a good sign for that campaign.
Nicole, do you think this video is low on energy, and could the president have in fact pivoted this entire campaign video on something beyond just the fight for freedom and democracy?
No, I mean, this is exactly what Biden has been all about this whole time. He announced in 2020 or in 2019 for the 2020 race, as it reiterates in this video, to save the soul of America. We saw democracy play a central role in the 2022 midterm elections. We saw Americans that are very concerned about freedoms that are being taken away from them. And he really leaned into that. He wants to talk to, look, there's no doubt that we're going to talk about Joe Biden's age and that he's older. But what he's communicating is with a large chunk of the Democratic Party, which is a lot of younger voters, about their ideals and their values and what he's going to continue doing, his work on climate change and different things that they have said are important to them that they want to see continued.
Right, but it's interesting you talk about why his age is going to be dominating discussions, Nicole. Let me actually bring you back on this, because several polls, including the most recent one being the one that's been conducted by Reuters Ipsos, is indicating that majority voters neither want Donald Trump nor Joe Biden to run for 2024. What explains this unenthused American public?
Well, look, a lot of times voters
think
don't
that
want to see a
Reuters.
rerun or a rehash of an election that they've seen. They have certain issues, and it's very easy to put the blame of those problems on folks who have been the leaders, and that makes sense. They've been running the country. There's always an idea when you ask people open-ended if they'd be open to different people and different ideas and sort of a hope and idealism, then yes. But the reality is it looks like this is going to be their choice. And when the choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is put to the American public again, it looks like very promising that Joe Biden, these same polls show that he would again beat Donald Trump. I always say that in 2020, I think it was, in fact, less of America electing Joe Biden as not electing Donald Trump again. And so we're going to see a lot of rehash of these same fights. And that just feeds into what the American public sort of thinks, which is that, there's a lot of bluster and a lot of talk in politics and not a lot getting done. And that's not something the American public likes to see.
All right, Corinne, if I could bring you in on this, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the most damning poll is actually the Reuters poll that shows 69% of Democrats do not want Joe Biden to be the nominee again. Now, there are a lot of polls about the general election there that can be interpreted in many different ways, though Donald Trump does have an edge. But the best edge that Donald Trump has is that the enthusiasm in his own party is much higher for him than the Democrat enthusiasm for Joe Biden. There is not a poll that shows that 69% of Republicans don't want Trump to run, but that is the truth for Democrats.
Nicole, how much of an impact could the investigation into Hunter Biden's business dealings and Joe Biden's age have on Joe Biden's re-election prospects?
Not a lot. The Democratic Party and the independents are not overly concerned. We've hashed this out over and over and over about Hunter Biden. His age is going to come up. It just is. The media is going to continue to bring it up. They're going to continue to talk about it. And he's going to continue to lean into the ideas that he has for this country, what he's gotten done as far as the infrastructure bill, the economics of the country, the climate change that he's done. You're going to see him today speaking at the largest building trades conference, which is a set of unions.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is where he's going to thrive. He's going to talk to them about the jobs that he's brought to their states, to their communities, and he's going to continue to run on that over and over and over again.
All right, Corinne, there are a lot of questions being asked for the lack of a more impactful running mate than Kamala Harris. Several Democrats have voiced the need for a more helpful or beneficial running mate. Because remember how Kamala Harris began and where she is now. She almost seems somewhere lost in the spotlight. How do you assess Kamala Harris and her position in the entire presidential race prospect?
I think
I
that
mean, look, people
our
don't
vice
win with
president-
their
I'll
because of
come
their
to you,
vice
Nicole.
president.
I'll come to you, Nicole. I'm taking that from Corinne.
Sorry.
I think the vice president has offered exactly what could have been expected of her. Kamala got less than 1% of the Democrat vote in the primary in 2020, and then she was added to Biden's ticket. I think she's added that exact predicted amount of energy. But what she does offer to that ticket the most is that she hasn't added a terrible amount of controversy. When you compare her candidacy to Biden with all of Hunter Biden's drama, which I just don't even think the beginning, we have not even scratched the surface of that scandal. Kamala does not have that kind of scandal following her, and that is the main benefit that she provides to this ticket.
All right, Nicole, let me close in with your thoughts. I know there's a lot between now and the election. What can change over here and now?
Oh, I mean, there's so much time. We've got pending legal cases. We have, different Congress is going to move. We're going to see, do the Republicans get a debt ceiling or not passed? What continues to happen with Supreme Court decisions? Sometimes those have a huge effect on where people are, on what party they want to vote for. So we are at the very, very, very infancy of this presidential election.